What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a Jim Knowles beatdown edition of the Coach and the Couch Potato. As always, I'm Jeremy the Couch Potato. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate. We are going to go over all things OSU Penn State, dive into just a few recruiting crumbs, because we'll give you the full bag of chips hopefully later this week. Before we dive into that, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel in conjunction with that 1,000 follower mark. When we get there, we will be giving away this signed Eddie George mini helmet. Totally free. Like they said back in the day, Free, that spells free. um, so, yeah, totally a beatdown, pretty much. I mean, Buckeyes spotted them 7 points right before the halftime. But I feel like you could say the Buckeyes dominated.
Yeah, I definitely think you could say the Buckeyes dominated. You never want to give up, a cheap 7 points before the half, especially against a team, a rival, a team who does have talent. When you give a team like that hope, when they have nothing to lose, you never know what you're going to get in the second half. And to hear Coach Day feeling like he was down 21 points, like to hear the commentators say that, they knew. Yeah, I knew the Buckeyes were going to come out in the second half with a chip on their shoulder and with an edge. And so I love the way the Buckeyes attacked. And so that was what I expected to see in the second half, and that was great to see that domination, pushing the ball down the field, getting the running game going, the defense doing what they had to do to get stops and playing like the Silver Bullets in the second half, and really upset that they gave up 14 points in the first half. Man, that was just like it was just a complete game, and I just hope this continues, that they continue to get better, man, because this was I thought this was a complete showing, especially in that second half.
Yeah, I agree. We have talked until we are red in the face about the middle eight, and Ohio State had a chance to get the ball back with 2 minutes and change. Score there, get the ball coming out of the break. This could have realistically been a 45-7 game, give or take,
No doubt.
because Penn State wasn't stopping them. Um, that's a whole nother conversation we'll dive into in a second. Um, you know, did Jim Knowles just throw in the towel at some point? Um, you know, as far as the domination goes, the defense will start there because obviously the defense, as great as Julian's saying, your now Heisman Trophy favorite is, along with JJ Carnell. You're starting to see BI get the ball some more
Yeah.
because teams are starting to try to take away Jeremiah and Carnell both. The defense, Arvell Reese, dog.
Yeah. Yeah, Arvell Reese is special, man. He is a complete player. I mean, he is that edge presence when they go into that five-man front, when they put him down as a defensive end, the way he dips his shoulder, that rip that he has, like he can just beat him with speed, he can beat him with power and that long arm. There's just a lot of things that he can do, man. And at linebacker, the sideline to sideline awareness that he has and just that natural athleticism. I mean, he is a complete player. Shout out to Coach Laurinaitis, man, for the development that we are seeing in Arvell. Like it is fun to watch, and I love. And the other thing I love too, and I wanted to give some love to Sonny Styles. Like Sonny Styles is almost like the forgotten guy. Like
Yeah.
Sonny Styles is also a freak of nature as well. But I love the fact that when Arvell is making these plays, Sonny's the first person there to celebrate with them. Like it is,
Oh
it is
yeah.
so cool to see, man. But Arvell always got the visor, shades of Andy Katzenmoyer,
Yep.
and he's just out there making play after play, man. So I love seeing that, man. This defense and that linebacker core, led by Arvell, is really just making plays after plays after plays.
So I'm gonna ask you a linebackers question because I know you've had some time coaching linebackers throughout the years. Early in the game, Penn State was having a lot of success outside the tackles.
Yeah,
And Ohio State was in a 4-3 at that point. So you've got Peyton Pearson there who is still really, really good, but he's obviously not the athletic freak that the other two guys are. And
yeah,
Kolanecki is Penn State's a hard team to defend just from a scheme standpoint because you never know what Kolanecki's going to throw at you.
Yeah.
Do you think that that was the reason they were having the success to the outside was because of the personnel?
Honestly, no, I really don't. I think it had more to do with the formations that he was given. Like you said, with Penn State's offensive coordinator, you never know what you're going to get. He did a really good job of getting into some different shifts and different motions and different formations to really put the Buckeyes into some binds. And so that was something that a few wrinkles that he added in and that the Buckeyes did not adjust to in the first half. And the other thing that the Buckeyes, and I'm sure Coach Patricia and Coach Laurinaitis are going to talk to the linebackers about this. Some of the stuff was just technique, working underneath the blocks instead of working over top. You know what I mean? I think it was just some of those technique things that, sometimes when you're a freak athlete, you think you can just go make every single play. And so you just truly rely on that athleticism to try to slip underneath the block. Well, if you slip underneath the block, then you better go make the play. And there was a few of
Yep.
those times where they lined up in that overload type of formation where they kept getting the edge, and I think it was Singleton scored on one of those plays as
Hmm.
well. Like you're trying to slip underneath those blocks, but we're not going to make those plays, and so you kind of have to work over top to make the guy put his foot in the ground and get vertical so somebody can come make the play. I think that was part of the reason why. And so I think it was more of a technique thing. Obviously, Arvell Reese is a little better athlete than Peyton Pierce, but I think it was more of a technique thing than just a sheer athleticism and personnel thing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I just it just makes you wonder because you do tend to get a little more athletic in like a with a 5-2 or a
Yeah,
3-3-5. So I just wondered. I saw
yeah,
that during the game, and I was like, I gotta ask Slade about that.
yeah.
Um, so you're giving Sonny flowers. I'm gonna give another dude flowers. Kenyatta Jackson.
Yeah, oh yeah, man.
We are seeing the dude that we thought Kenyatta Jackson could be.
Yeah,
And
it's
not
fun to
just as a
watch,
pass
man.
rusher,
Yeah,
not just as a pass rusher. As an edge to be able to play the run the way that he has is huge because it gives him more flexibility and versatility. You may not take him off the field as much. You see that, so it works. Taiwan Malone, another dude who is playing out of his head.
yeah,
If you would have told me 8 weeks in or 8 games in that the D line would be playing as solid as they are, I would have told you probably not.
yeah.
Um,
Especially with Edric Houston not playing every snap. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like that is, excuse me, that is one thing that I am really shocked by. But Kenyatta Jackson, man, he is. Earlier in the season, it was Caden Curry, right? Caden Curry was the one that was making all the plays and doing all these things, and Kenyatta Jackson was just steady Eddie, and he was doing his job and he was making plays as well. But Caden Curry was the one that was really flashing. Now you're starting to see, Caden Curry is the one that's really steady, but Kenyatta's really starting to flash, and it's just a testament to patience, right? You don't necessarily need to go jump in the portal and go find another place that you're going to go find greener pastures. You could stay here and still be great and still be patient and bide your time and it will pay off, right? And you're seeing two guys who have done that and it is paying off, man. And I'm just so happy for those two and especially Kenyatta, man. Like it is, to see him run off the field after he got one of those sacks and he's pointing at, Coach Johnson, like he trusted Coach Johnson and he trusted the process and it's just paying off, man. And you just love seeing those seniors who stuck it out, especially on the defensive line, and everything just coming to fruition for them. And those are true Buckeyes, man. So I'm really happy for Kenyatta. He's playing at a high level, and that defensive line is really, stepping up and making plays when we need them to.
yeah, absolutely. Um, Last thing on the defensive side of the ball, I cannot wait to get your thoughts on this. The Caleb Downs targeting call.
Yeah.
Um, I have my opinion, but what say you?
Oh, it was targeting. I mean, there is, in my opinion, there is zero doubt that was targeting. I think, I think Caleb Downs got lucky in the sense that he did not necessarily lead with his head. It was more of his shoulder and the side of his head, and I think that saved him. But he definitely launched into him, and it was lucky that Caleb Downs is not the biggest guy. And so like he's got he's got to be smarter. He's got to understand the situation and the severity of it. Understand the situation in the game that wasn't needed.
Right.
But I also understand too. You're trying to go make a play and you want the big hit and you're amped up, right? And I get that as well. So we got lucky. But I definitely thought it was targeting. I remember looking directly at my wife and was like, "Yep, well, he's out for the second half or the first half of the next game." And so, fortunately, he doesn't have to sit out. But I definitely thought that was targeting.
So I did originally, and I still kind of do, but I think you hit on part of it as far as that it was the side of the helmet
Yeah,
that made the contact. But I think what you're starting to see is I think the officials, like we have harped about it for years since targeting became a thing. How many times do you see a defender already be into a tackling motion and a quarterback slide and he hits him high because of where he's at?
yeah,
And on that pass, the quarterback threw that ball 20 foot in the air to where he hung his receiver out to dry. Downs went to hit where he thought the receiver was going to be. And because of that, it looked a lot worse than it was. I think you're starting to see it not be enforced when it's not rewarding a bad throw, I guess is the way that I look at it.
yeah. And I get that side of it too. I really do. I mean, you're seeing. I think the referees and these reviews they're really taking a look at the total picture, which I appreciate. You got to get it right, and
Right.
I feel like we got lucky. I feel like if it was any other team, any other game, I feel like this would have been. I think it would have been a targeting call. If it was Sonny Styles, a bigger guy, I feel like that would have been targeting, no doubt. If it was
And it would have
Arvell,
looked a lot
it
worse.
would have looked
Yeah.
a lot worse. And if it was Arvell, I think it would have been targeting just because he's a bigger guy, and it would have looked a
Right.
lot worse. It would have been a lot more power behind it, and so, I think we got bailed out. But I do understand what you're saying, though. I think the referees are really taking a look at the total picture, and fortunately, it worked out in our favor, and that he doesn't have to miss any time.
Yeah, I mean, because you think about that. If that's the Rutgers game and he does that, now you're out the first half of the game.
Yeah,
Like, um, you know, and then he came back and had the pick, but I just hope it was. You could tell he thought it was targeting when it showed his face.
yeah,
Um, but we'll see. If he learns from it. Um, but at the end of the day, yeah, we caught a break. Um, Offensively, obviously, Julian's saying, uh, are the training wheels finally off? Because I kind of feel like they are. Uh, when you're letting Julian saying go deep into double coverage against quarters coverage, and it was almost 2.5 guys on Jeremiah because there was another guy rolling over with them, and that was a dime. But
yeah,
we
yeah.
don't get that throw 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, man, and I think I was kind of I was pretty shocked at the way they played coverage wise. Now, and I will say this, and people will forget because of their record, but Penn State secondary is pretty talented. Like they've got some guys that are gonna get drafted in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. Like I want people to understand that they've got guys who can play. But I was really shocked at the way that they played Jeremiah specifically. Like, Carnell, I just thought they would play with a little more depth, with the route running ability that they both have. Like it was just shocking to me. But again, you see that type of leverage. There was one rep, I believe it was cover two in the corner, just ran with JJ on the one deep ball. Because if you go back and you watch the clip, Brandon Ennis ran an out and he converted it into a wheel, and he's wide open, right? So Brandon Innes was expecting to get the ball
Mm,
because he was like, "Oh crap, the corner's not sitting here with me
right.
because he's supposed to be with me on the wheel route, but he's not." And so throw me the ball, but I've got this freak of nature at receiver who's just ran by everybody. And so Julian just said, screw it, I'm going to throw it up.
Yep.
Like it's just not fair at that point. Like it was great. And I love the way Julian throws those deep balls, man. Like it doesn't always have
Yes.
to be like perfect, but it gives those guys like the best opportunity to go get it, and it throws them open. And that was fun to see. And again, like it was just a mismatch all day, man. And it was fun. And like you said, the training wheels I think are coming off. Julian is doing a great job with the pocket movement. This
Oh my
front from
God,
Penn
yes.
State was fantastic. I'm sorry, like their defensive front is good. The
Yeah.
pressure that they were able to create, the one-on-one matchups that they were able to win against our offensive line. Like Julian had to create and do some different things in the pocket that I just loved seeing. And so I think he is just really coming into his own, man. And it was a complete game from QB1, man. It was great all around.
Yeah. I mean, his pocket presence is insane.
Yeah.
I got a text from one of our mutual friends Saturday during the game, and actually it was after the game because he was at the game, and he was like, "Julian Saint's the best passer Ohio State's ever had in my lifetime," and I was like, "Let's slow down. Are
Yeah.
we getting there? Absolutely." Um, C.J. Stroud is still just that much better, but Julian Saint's pocket presence, because Stroud took some sacks he should have never taken. And to see what Sayan's doing as a redshirt freshman,
Yeah.
he's going to win the Heisman if Ohio State wins out. I mean, it's done. I mean, the only way Vanderbilt losing was honestly a bigger help to his Heisman race than Indiana Mendoza not putting up great stats against Maryland.
Yeah.
The other piece to the offense, though, on Saturday was the run game. They finally looked like a somewhat consistent running team. Um, 31 carries, well, actually 32 carries for 160 and change, but that includes the 50-yard Bo Jackson run. But we haven't sprung the big run all year.
Yeah.
Now we sprung the big run. Take the big run out, and you still average 3.5 yards per carry, which that should put you at 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, which is what you want.
Yeah.
What did you see O line wise?
Yeah, man. Listen, first off, I called it, said we were going to rush for 150 yards plus. That I did say that. So Carson, you could clip that up and you could put that out there if you want to. But
Give my man his flowers.
no, but it's I thought the offensive line did a good job, creating the run lanes. Obviously, there's some things that we need to get better at, but I thought the offensive line did a really good job of making sure that the line or the running backs could get to that second level to make somebody miss, right? Been the biggest thing. The offensive line is doing enough to make sure that they get to that 3 to 4 yards. And can our running backs make somebody miss? I think you started to see our guys start to make some people miss. And like that is what Ryan Day has wanted to see. And I hate this is a Buckeye podcast, and I hate to give some props to anybody from the team up north, but I watched a little bit of the team up north versus Purdue, and you watch Jordan Marshall play, and he gets that second level, he makes people miss, right? And like it's through physicality, right? Or he's able to make a miss in the hole. It's not always perfectly blocked, but he can make people miss. You think back to Zeke in those times, like it wasn't always perfectly blocked, but he can make people miss. Like that is what we need. And we started to see Bo Jackson. There was a few plays late in the third quarter where we saw James Peoples make the first guy miss in the hole, and he was able to spring one for like 12 yards, right? You see Ryan Day all pumped up. Like those are the things that we need our running backs to do because they have the ability. And then let CJ Donaldson just continue to be that red zone presence, man, because I do think he is really good in the red zone. Once we get inside that 15, the 10-yard line, like I do think he can be a force. He's actually a really good receiver out of the
Yeah.
backfield. And I do think when like he's just a big freaking body. But I do think we just need to continue to see them make those people miss. And our offensive line, they just have to keep getting better at the gap scheme, at the zone schemes, whatever it is that Coach Bowen and Coach Hart are deciding to run. Just continue to grind it out, keep churning it out. Work those angles, get your body in position, and just do whatever it takes, man, to let that running game get going. Because if we can consistently get, 130 yards plus rushing each week, on top of Julian doing whatever he's doing, like I think our offense goes to another level. I'm not
Oh
saying
yeah.
we need to go rush for 200 yards a game. I don't think we need to do that, but we need to have a consistent run game. We can't have a week where we're rushing for 70 yards. Like I think it
Right.
needs to be, over 100 and 120, 130 yards a game consistently, where we do have a couple chunk run plays and then we can grind it out at the end of the game when we need to, man. I just really think that needs to be where we get to. And this was a good step forward because this was a good front. This was a good front seven that we saw against Penn State.
Yeah, and I think they did a very, very good job of almost of defying an old school football rule of thumb. They used the pass to set up the run.
Absolutely.
You start chucking the ball around. You get a lighter box. You start taking what's there. I thought they did a very good job. I think Hartline was in his bag. Probably the best called game he's had all season. Um, I think that speaks volumes about him. Um, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with him, this offseason. Um, another SEC coach fired since we last saw you. Hugh Freeze at Auburn, gone. Um, just another job that is going to contribute to the chaos. Um, so, yeah, that kind of ties up Penn State. First college football playoff committee rankings will be out tomorrow night. So when we do our before the battle, we'll have that ranking. I'm going to go ahead and tell you I think the Buckeyes will be number 2. And I'm okay with that. Um, Before we get into a little bit of recruiting crumbs, I would be doing myself an injustice if I didn't say who will not be in the top 12 of those college football rankings? The
Who's that?
Miami Hurricanes. Um, Carson Beck, A+ effort again. Um, it's really I didn't think it. I thought it would take more than this point in the season before he threw his tight end under the bus. He's thrown his offensive coordinator and his coaches under the bus. If the dude wasn't making $4 million, he would probably be benched sooner than later.
Yeah.
But I have a question for you. So
Yeah.
I got asked this a couple weeks ago by one of my really good friends,
Okay.
and I didn't feel comfortable bringing it up yet. But we are now 2/3 of the way through the season. Ohio State, hypothetically, if Ohio State goes 12-0,
Okay.
Indiana goes 12-0.
Okay.
Those two are getting 2 of the top 4 seeds at
Yeah.
that point. It does not matter who wins the Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
We've already seen Ryan Day save legs, and it's going to come out to about 2 games worth of plays at this point that he has saved. Do you rest your dogs?
No. Absolutely not. You go win the Big Ten championship. Got to. You got to. Like,
I don't disagree.
you've got to go
I
win the Big Ten
also
championship.
I
Like,
think we saw last year the teams coming off of the buys and the CFP looked a little rusty.
I agree.
So you play that conference championship game, you go all out to win it, and then you hit practice pretty stinking hard still
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you can't come out of that bot. Now, granted, I honestly, and this is not a homerish take, but I think we've hit the point where you're seeing Georgia look very, very mediocre. I don't want to say mediocre because they're not mediocre, but they don't look like the Georgia of old.
Yeah.
I think you've hit a spot where Ryan Day is the best coach in America, and I don't think he's going to let his team come out flat.
Yeah, I think he. I think he's in. I think he's feeling comfortable. And when I say that, I think he's feeling comfortable in the sense of he has faced everything at this point,
Right.
right? He is, been vilified. He has been, chance for him to be fired. He's been booed, right? And then, he still hasn't, beat Michigan in the last 4 years. Like he is there's like the scar tissue that has just been building,
Yeah.
right? But somehow he still won 11 games the last 3 years, and then he goes and wins a national championship last year, right? So like somehow he's still been able to manage to do all these things, and so he's figured out a way to just manage all these emotions on top of managing this team. And so there's like this callus that he's gotten, and I love to see it because it's just a natural chip on your shoulder, and I hope it never goes away because it's something that you can see it, you can feel it, with the guys. You talk to Luke and you talk to any of those guys associated with the program, and you can just see it and you feel it that they just have this natural chip on their shoulder, like they're not respected enough. And I love it, and I hope it continues to stay that way, man, because they know that they still have so much work to do, and there's so many things to accomplish, man.
Yeah, I mean it's just crazy. Like you said, you nailed it as far as with what he's been through. A little bit of recruiting, just like I said, we'll throw some crumbs out there because I think we are going to probably have to knock out our recruiting chips because there was a lot to take away from this weekend. There were a lot of visitors. UCLA is shaping up to be a monster recruiting weekend. And I would have never guessed that we would have a big recruiting weekend left after Texas because I thought the class would be full. But Ryan Day and Pantone have some spatulas that they're about to bring out, I think. Um, we kind of hinted a couple weeks ago that it sounded like Aaron Thomas was on his way out of the class. He officially decommitted tonight. Um, Very real chance that, as they normally do, somehow the Buckeyes are going to level up. We will dive deeper into that when we do recruiting chips. And then yesterday, within 10 minutes, the class of 2027 added some beef. Uh, Four-star Ohio State's looking at him as a tackle. Kellen Wimmer from Liberty Center, Ohio. Basically a top 200 player. He's right on the fringe. Three-star Mason Wilt, interior offensive lineman from St. Clairsville. That's going to be a massive O-line class. I think they're going to look at taking another 5 or 6 man class. We will dive deeper into these guys as far as like what we see on film and stuff. But anytime you can lock down Ohio kids, especially in the trenches this early, I think that's a win.
Absolutely. I love Coach Bowen's strategy, man. I think it's clear that he wants to recruit Ohio in the trenches, and he wants that to be a priority when starting that offensive line class. And, he made it a priority when he first got hired, with Maxwell Riley, with Sam Greer, and then later on getting Landry Breed. Like he wants Ohio to be the lifeblood of the offensive line recruiting. And if it's a bigger class, okay, I can get 2 or 3 Ohio guys, and then I can go swinging for some bigger fish, after that, and I love that. I just feel like that's the way we should attack every position group. That's just me though, because I'm an Ohio high school football coach,
Right.
and so like those are the type of guys. You look at our offensive line now. You just got a bunch of Ohio kids that are hungry, nasty, and they just want to go play football for the Buckeyes, man. And so I just love it, man. I hope that continues. This trend continues because I think you're going to get a bunch of kids who want to be Buckeyes, and you can never have too many of those kids.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly
You
with my
went away,
camera
yeah, you went away for a second.
because I'm not. All right. Anyway, I guess I'll talk in silence or without being audible. Chris Henry Jr., Caden Dixon Wyatt, both of those dudes absolutely feasted this weekend.
Yeah, they did.
So go watch some of those highlights if you want to see a glimpse of how unfair the wide receiver room at Ohio State's going to be next year. Um, I don't even know what to think of that with, Jeremiah, those two guys, Mylan Graham. I mean, it's going to be freaky, man. Um, I was going to show you guys we had a quote unquote special guest, but since my camera went out, we'll save that for next time. Um, but yeah, I think that's all we've got. Make sure, like we said, comment on the videos, subscribe to the channel, share it. That helps out a ton. And that way we can get this helmet given away and find a new home. And with that, we will see you guys later this week for Before the Battle.